Low self-esteem is always a tool or let's call it a justification for one to tend or even demand owning people. Now, this might sound a bit awe-striking, or this may sound intimidating or dumb, or may sound very awkward, but the point is, low self-esteem is basically the catalyst, let's say, for a lot of the suffering in the world. Now, with ignorant people, and I'm not gonna dive into the topic of ignorance because I've been discussing on this in previous videos, the point with ignorant people is they will always live by impulse. Now, what impulsive existence means is you will always live like animals. An instinct or a necessity, right? An instinct is triggered by a necessity, right? There is a trigger. You have to reproduce, right? Genetically speaking and cyclically speaking, right? Because animals, unlike us humans, are still deeply connected to the cycles of the earth, right? The yearly cycles, let's call them, and even daily cycles, right? They always feed themselves, they reproduce, right? They live in, their basic instincts. Now, the point about instinctive or impulsive based people is they will do the exact same thing. They will live by impulse. Now, what impulse basically means, it's exactly like in programming. They're always looking for something that appears as true. When that is true, they execute the corresponding, you know, instinct, let's say. Is there a threat? Well, fight or flight, right? Is there a need to eat? Well, obviously they will eat. And in many cases, if not in most cases, impulsive people will always damage themselves one way or another because usually they will overthink, they will overdo things, and I recently dropped a video on overdoing things. And well, at the same time, they will use all sorts of distractions, right? Because ignorance is technically a distraction from who and what you really are, including the idea of a personality, right? Many people embrace the idea that they don't look good enough, right? And all these aspects of low self-esteem, many people actually embrace them, right? It is their theater performance. But this is only a justification to, allow themselves, right? They are giving themselves the permission to use others or to own others, better said. And this usually goes well with, narcissistic people. Now, I'm not saying narcissists, I'm saying narcissistic because, well, narcissism is a broad spectrum and, well, it has dozens of, features and sub-features, let's say. So the point about this is many people feel entitled to own other people. This only occurs from low self-esteem. Because the point is, when you have low self-esteem, you build a lot of theater around that because you want justification, right? The only point about justification is justification only exists as a pillar for lies, right? It always exists as a pillar for lies because only lies need justification. The truth doesn't need justification, right? The truth can only happen once you realize it, and well, that's it. You can learn at school that, water freezes at 0 degrees, or, well, depends, -4 degrees usually, because it has a lot of impurities. But let's say water freezes at exactly 0 degrees. Now, you can learn that and, mentally apply it, and you haven't realized it yet. But, when you happen to actually see, right, that it's below 0 degrees and water is frozen, you kind of realize that. And, even if someone wakes you up, now that you have realized it, right, this no longer depends on your mind. So if you're suddenly woken up, you don't need to wait for your mind to fully wake up so that you give the answer, right? Because that's the power of realizing things. Realization goes beyond the mind. Now, the point is, well, many people kind of embrace this idea that, they suck, they're not good enough. It becomes their self-fulfilling prophecy, right? It becomes their reality. So the point is, they kind of start overdoing it, right? They do more than they should when it comes to, ruining themselves. They're like this lighthouse, right? That constantly, beeps light signals that, it's there. It wants to lure people, right? It's female manipulation, right? Wounded feminine energy. And well, I'm not saying female, actually, yes, wounded feminine energy, right? Manipulation. And also at the same time coupled with inclusion, because typically feminine energy, right? I'm not saying women, feminine energy, because this is within all the objects existent. It usually represents itself more through women in the case of humans, but men also have that, and a balance is always required. Wounded feminine energy will always be about, forceful inclusion, right? You will be doing everything. You'll use sexuality, you'll use lies, deceit, everything possible. And that's why you have, that's a core aspect of narcissistic spectrum, right? You'll use a lot of deceit. So low self-esteem can emanate from a lot of things. It usually does. It's, well, you need abuse, lack of, a nurturing presence. Also, many factors can contribute to that. But the point is, when people delve into this, when people identify themselves with this idea, right, they will use it as an excuse to make, to run away from life, right? The point is, once you realize the truth needs to happen just once and you realize it. Lies always require repetition. That's why you see, the news. They always repeat things, right? They want you to, bear that into mind. That's why you also have a lot of people, right? They speak to you about a certain thing about them. They want you to accept them in a certain way. And that's why they always and always repeat it, that, they're like this and they've always done this and they've always done this, right? It's also the points they are repeating, okay, those can actually be true points. But the point is, their low self-esteem, right? They're set on the fact that if they don't repeat themselves constantly, right, people won't listen to them or won't agree to them, and they are afraid of that, right? They are afraid of rejection. So this low self-esteem is only a justification to own you, because the point is they're already owning you, right? They're coming into your life, they're shedding their shit, or they're repeating their things constantly, and well, that's the point, right? They feel they own you because you're kind of entitled, or well, in a way forced to actually listen to their, complaints and points and ideas that, they always repeat again and again and again, right? Overdoing things, running away from the responsibility of doing things to make your life better. When you overdo something like that, well, technically you are obsessed with something. And obsession is another way of overdoing things, right? It's just that it's not physical, it's more like mental, emotional, and or psychological trauma that people are imposing upon themselves. Now, the point about low self-esteem, it's always an excuse or a justification, right? And the justification is always needed for lies, because when you accept that you have low self-esteem, right, that's only a lie, because, well, technically you can't have low self-esteem. It can be imposed upon you and you can accept it as natural, but that means embracing entropy, embracing your tending towards chaos. The point is, you have to go, to improve yourself. And that is the only truth in life. You have to go always. Well, you don't have to, right? It's everything you do in life should actually take you to greater peaks, right? You should become better, right? Not must, because you shouldn't do this impulsively, right? You should do this only if you feel like it, but honestly, if you become at least a bit conscious of your life, you will feel at least instinctively at the beginning, so yes, as an impulse, but you will feel a need, right? And then it becomes more and more natural to become much better than what you are in all aspects of life, because that's basically what life wants. But, with lies, they always need justifications, because lies are just like keeping a ball underwater. You always have to keep it under pressure, right? But it also fights back, because that's the problem of the truth. It always fights back. And you can only keep the ball underwater for a certain amount of time, because you will get bored of doing that. Well, people who embrace overdoing things, they won't get bored, but, well, they will get tired sooner or later. That's why many people also become vampiric, right? And vampirism is another way of owning people, right? Because they subconsciously feel good when they are feeding off of, better people's energy, or, well, let's say better energy from people. So the point about this is, well, one of the most hideous things is shyness. So many people embrace this idea of shyness, and they embrace this theater, right? That I'm a shy person, I can't do this. No, 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 no. That's a pathetic little excuse to not do things to improve yourself, right? It's always easy to say that you're shy, you're an introspect, you can't talk. No, you can talk, you just don't want to talk. You can talk because everyone can talk. If you're mute from birth, well, then you have an excuse. But the point is, if you can talk, you can talk. It's just that you believe your life sucks, your voice is not good enough, right? Your ideas are not good enough because you have accepted other people's ideas and you don't want to take responsibility of, ditching these beliefs. Because a belief is nothing else than accepting things without a necessity for proof. In short, ignorance, because ignorance means accepting everything without discernment, right? So when you run away from discernment, well, you see, that's a little problem because you'll accept literally everything, so you're technically a trash bin, a universal trash bin. So, well, this video may not go as much, but honestly, hopefully it has been, introspective a bit and eye-opening a bit. I don't want to make, hour-long videos because I can speak about low self-esteem a lot, but, well, all this being said, feel free to show your comments, your ideas, your feels about this, and as well as your own ideas. I'm looking forward to learning from others. You are appreciated. Take care of yourselves. Become more introspective to see that, the answers you're looking for are hidden just there in plain sight within you, just like I am, finding the answers that I need. You are appreciated. Take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Ferenc Board signing out.